How's it going today, Trooper? I'm doing great. I'm armed, as you can see. I'm no threat to you, sir. Hey, I was wondering if I could get your name and badge number.
Last name is Scott, badge number is 735.
You got a minute for me to ask you a couple questions?
What can I do for you today?
I wanted to ask you, do you believe as a law enforcement officer you have a duty to uphold and defend the Constitution, both the Kentucky and the U.S.?
We do swear to uphold the Constitution of Kentucky. Now, there are things within the federal Constitution that are not within our purview to do anything.
Right. Okay, well.
Do you have a specific question? And the reason I ask.
I do.
The reason I ask, I am here doing something right now.
Okay.
And I need to be paying attention to what I'm supposed to be paying attention to.
Well, I understand. But I do. But and let me respond to that real quick. It'll only take a minute. Right. I'm a citizen. You're a public servant. Right. I'm the public, so I figure you got a minute for me.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah. I appreciate that. So here's my question: would you comply with any order that was unconstitutional, or would you comply with a specific order or command to go door to door and confiscate firearms from law-abiding citizens?
We could not do that without some sort of court any more than we could take any other property, if that property is legally owned.
Right. Which okay.
I mean, if it's contraband or something like that, I can't let you keep this because it's a law.
Right.
The scenario that I think you're relying on, if the federal government,
I'm gonna get a little close because
if federal government passed some sort of law saying, you can no longer possess this firearm, until we were presented with a court order saying to go in and seize that property, we wouldn't have any authority to do that.
I normally just tell you to give what weight you want to give and what belief you feel is necessary to what they say. However, this is one of the ones I am going to express what I believe and what weight I give. But you do need to pay close attention to what they say, what they don't say, how they say what they say, and what they purposely avoid saying. Did you hear him say that? Did you hear him say, I can't let you keep that because the law says you can't, giving an example? So, by his own statement, if a law were passed which absolutely violated the Second Amendment, violated your constitutionally reminded of, not granted because the Constitution does not grant rights, for the most part, it only reminds the government of what we the people's rights are, and further it was written to restrict government, not restrict we the people. But if a law were passed, such as this type right here...
Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein and Democratic Congressman David Cicilline pushing through a bill banning several types of what they call assault weapons. It would also ban ammo magazines holding more than 10 rounds. This comes after House Democrats passed two sweeping gun control bills requiring background checks on all commercial gun sales and a 10-day review for gun purchases.
So if those laws were passed, and by this officer's belief, because they're no longer lawful, well then you're not acting in accordance with law and he can't let you keep them. By his own statement, any law written he would blindly enforce and feel justified doing so. So in my opinion, I'd have to say that makes him a tyrant, right? I mean, isn't that what tyrants do? Blind order following robots? Isn't that what they do? Don't they simply do as they're told without regard for rights, freedoms, constitution, justice, and then claim later they were just, quote, following orders, end quote, because it was unlawful per the law which was passed that said you couldn't say something or do something or defend someone or be somewhere despite the fact the law is unjust and an infringement? I'm just asking for a friend. Moving on. Oh, also, the whole court order comment, also spewed by the now retired Sergeant Morrow from the Sheriff's Department, also still on a video up on my page, is a worthless bunch of drivel bullshit. There wouldn't be individual court orders, to my understanding, to take things. There would be laws passed, and then if anyone had them, there might be specific court orders to go take them at that point, and according to this guy, he'd fucking smile and shit all over your rights while he did it. Isn't that right, Scott? Isn't that right, sir? Again, my friend wants to know. I'm not asking.
Well, that's a deeper conversation, so I won't go into too much of that, but let me ask you the final question. Do you believe and do you support everyone's, specifically private citizens' Second Amendment rights to own, possess, carry, and defend themselves and others with firearms?
As long as it's done legally and lawfully, yeah.
Okay.
So.
That's all I got for you, sir. I appreciate your time. You have a good day.
And here comes the rest of my opinion and comments. Hey, you know what? If you don't like narration, shut the fuck up and turn off the video. And if you do like narration, shut the fuck up and listen. Either way, it starts with shut the fuck up. Moving on. Quote, as long as it's done legally and lawfully, yeah. End quote. You know, I'm on the fence about this because in one sense, it ties into what I was saying about laws being written that make things illegal, therefore not legally, and unlawful, therefore not lawfully, per his definition, such as they come up with a law that says you can't defend yourself on Mondays. If you went with his words on the face, he's saying if it's not legal and it's not lawful, there's a law against it, he would arrest you for it. He would cite you for it, he would kidnap you for it, threat of force, threat of deadly force, injury, death. He would steal your property, and he would take you from your family. Those are his words. He's saying he would do that. If a law, whatever the law is, apparently, he would enforce it. I mean, he didn't say not if it's done legally and lawfully unless you're doing it illegally and unlawfully because you're doing it contrary to an unjust or unconstitutional or incorrect law. He just said legally and lawfully. So that would mean, per his own words, anything legal, anything lawful is good. And if they write a law, no matter how shit it is and how violative it is and how infringing it is, that says something is illegal and unlawful, well, goddamn it, then you're not doing it right. Those are his words. Or am I analyzing this incorrectly? And I said that was in one sense. And the other sense is, you know, maybe he just didn't say all that. Maybe he absolutely believes that defending yourself is legal and lawful. And maybe we didn't go into that part of the conversation where he would say, no, if they wrote a law that said that you couldn't, I would not enforce that. Or if they wrote a law that was unconstitutional, I wouldn't enforce that. But that's not the sense I got from him, and that's not what his words to me said. I don't think some of you get it. I'm not analyzing whether he's a good frickin' neighbor, or a good driver, or a good person, or whether he basket weaves beautifully, or builds fucking beautiful monuments. I'm not analyzing anything else other than whether he is a good oath keeper, a good public servant, and not a blind order-following sheep who has no grasp on rights and freedoms and just walks around doing whatever he is told with no regard for the constitutionality or anything else regarding private citizens' rights. You've heard the quote, when injustice becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. It's a paraphrase. I'm not quoting it verbatim, I'm sure. But I'm sure at least some of you have heard of that, right? Anyway, I'm judging him and his fellow blue liners the same way he and they would judge me if I stood there and watched someone just sneak up on him and just crush the back of his fucking skull with a crowbar, and I didn't give him any warning. I have a conscience and what I would call a moral obligation, despite my feeling about his profession, to at least give him a warning, if not aid him in repelling the assault. In the same way, if he is an oath keeper and a public servant, he has an obligation to keep his fucking oath and serve the fucking public, not the masters pulling his puppet strings. So I had a couple thoughts here. And this video's getting long. Well, you'll get the fuck over it if you listen this far, or you won't. Either way, I don't give a shit. I'll still sleep fine. Fuck it, whatever. 1, he is ignorant of what the situation is in this country with rights, laws, constitution, etc. Or 2, he didn't want to stand for, on camera, what he truly believes and have documented about his beliefs regarding the Second Amendment. Or 3, he knows exactly what the fuck he is trying not to say and what he was saying, and his intention and his stance is obvious. By his own wording, you might tend to think that he would enforce any unconstitutional law because it is now lawful to enforce it and it would be unlawful if you acted against it. And further, that he would arrest you for violating a law that is absolutely unconstitutional because you were unlawful since you violated the law, no matter what the law is, nor that it violates your rights. Rights are not given by the Constitution. They were reminded of within the Constitution. The Constitution was not meant to restrict we the people, but to restrict they the government, that same fucking person sitting in that car that I just asked the questions of. And to remind they the government, that same fucking person in the car, that we the people have certain rights that should not be infringed upon. The problem with his answer is that he literally evades the question to fall back on an answer of if it's lawful, either purposely ignoring the fact that violations of rights and constitution, etc. occurs often in laws, and regardless of a stupid law that might state something like you may not defend yourself or your daughter from being raped, or say the words government is bad on a Friday or on a Sunday, would be both violating of rights which no one with 2 brain cells would find just, this idiot is saying that he would defend it. If I am correct in my analysis, he's a fucking idiot saying he would defend it. But hey, maybe I'm the fucking idiot. Maybe I didn't interpret it just right or analyze it just right. Maybe I just took him at the words that he said, but that I imagined the logic of saying I would enforce a law that said you did something unlawfully no matter what. Because that's what I heard. Now, if I went with my belief and what I believe he was saying, then I would have to say this kind of person is often worse than many others because of the doublespeak and either purposeful or accidental ignorance. Maybe he just didn't want to stand up for his beliefs on camera. Or maybe he just didn't come across as he meant. However, if he meant what he said, and my analysis is correct, then I give his ignorant fucking stupidity an A+, and his honor, integrity, oath-keeping, and worthiness as an alleged public servant an F fucking minus. And for my last paragraph of the fucking book, I don't know him, though he claimed we had some interaction once before. And maybe we did. I don't remember what it was. And I'd have to dig through footage to see if it was a documented encounter. I don't know. I do know his type, though, if my analysis is correct. If he meant what he said, then he has as much worth as an oath keeper and public servant as I do as a fucking brain surgeon. I mean, I could probably fumble my way through your brain matter, carefully cutting through the 3 meninges, or is it 4, the cranium, never mind, it doesn't fucking matter, and then carefully trying to navigate around the most important areas such as the autonomic nervous system functions like breathing and heartbeat, etc., and maybe even not cut into your arteries supplying oxygen to your brain. But at best, when I'm done, you've had a frontal lobotomy. Or you're an unresponsive vegetable. And at worst, you're fucking dead. That's exactly how I see people like this. Officer. I see him fumbling around his profession, and at best, he might not purposely violate your rights, but at worst, as soon as any law is written, regardless of how unjust and how much it violates your rights, and no matter how much his threatening you with physical force would violate your rights and violate his oath, he's going to do it. And at best, you've just had your rights violated, and at worst, you're fucking dead from his hands or his gun. All because he's either purposely or accidentally ignorant of fucking rights, constitution, and how stupid laws can be written that violate him, and how his oath supersedes that, and his public service should supersede that. So I say to you, Trooper Scott, how far are you willing to go with your if it's done lawfully argument? Are you willing to be a tyrant and a traitor to the people, to the Constitution, the people you allegedly swore an oath to, the Constitution you apparently, I guess, swore an oath to at some point in time? Are you just another brain-dead, blind order following, sheep-tard, tyrant, traitor, waiting to violate people's rights as soon as a law is passed that says they can't do something, even though you know they should be able to do it? I think I know the answer, but I'll let other people decide for themselves. There you go. That's my book. I wanted to give this video its due. I wanted to touch on a couple subjects that normally I don't, because normally in my constitutional cop watches I just say, hey, you give what weight to it you want to give to it. You give what belief to it you wanted to give to it. This time I decided I wanted to give some weight to it, and I wanted to give some belief or non-belief to it. If you don't like that, you know where the door is. Here we go again with the fucking memo for some of these idiots out there. You didn't buy a fucking ticket here. I don't remember you waiting in line. I don't remember asking for your donations. And I sure as fuck don't remember monetizing my channel. I don't give a fuck if you stay or go, watch, don't watch, listen, don't listen. If my subscriber count dropped to 1 tomorrow, I'd wake up and do the same fucking thing, and I'd probably laugh half the goddamn day about it. It doesn't matter. All that matters to me is that the people that want to hear it, that maybe need to think about other things, that might at least be aggravated by what I have to say, maybe go look into it a little bit more, remove your heads from your fucking orifices, your anal ones, and fucking research and fucking think for yourselves. And stop believing that they're all heroes, and also stop believing that they're all bad. But either way, start believing in your own ability to research, your own ability to think outside the box, and your own ability to fucking analyze and objectively come to opinions that are based in logic and fact. That's all I got for you. And you can like it or you can fuck off. Have a nice day. I'm moving on. P.S. Trooper Scott, if I analyzed you incorrectly and you'd like a second round of this and to actually go into this more, or to correct what you had to say because you want to correct my analysis of it and make sure I got it right, you can find me. As you indicated, you are aware of who I am. That means you know where I'm at. That means you can make yourself available in the area. Or if you see me, you can wave me down, and I will come to you, and I will let you either correct me, or correct yourself, or tell me to fuck off. However, as is the case, the custom normally with law enforcement, as soon as you say something they don't want to hear, or anything that might contradict possible brainwashing or indoctrination, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you. Or they just don't have the fucking balls. So I won't hold my breath. But the offer is out there, Trooper Scott. But you enjoy your day and that paycheck that you get from the same people that so many in your profession, seemingly even you, would violate the rights of on a daily basis. All with the defense of, I was just doing my job. Sir.
As long as done legally and lawfully, yeah. As long as it is done legally and lawfully, yeah. As long as it is done legally and lawfully, yeah.